Beginning of the actual planning board meeting of May 10th. I'm sorry that we're late. The meeting will now commence. We'll have both live and Zoom remote participation. The Zoom participation is meant to improve access and participation, but if for some reason the electronic access should fail, the meeting live will nevertheless continue. So we just completed the work session, and I would just like to say that one of the topics that we did not get to, but we will be getting to at our next work session, is parameters for the public input session. We're a working board, and in the interest of conducting our business efficiently, I think it's important that we have guidelines and parameters for the public input session. So we will be working on those. In the meantime, the public input is open now, and public input shall be limited to statements from the public pertaining to issues with the jurisdiction of the planning board that are not currently the subject of an open hearing or pending public hearing. Pending comments on any pending hearings shall be heard during those such public hearings. So that said, is there anyone here who wants to speak in the public input session?
Any Zoomers?
Or Zoom?
No one on Zoom.
Okay. So administrative review done. No, we have no new public hearings tonight. So next up, we have the Lighthouse School. It's for the construction of 23,000 square foot addition for classrooms and facilities with associated site improvements. The site is located in the IA Limited Industrial District and consists of approximately 33.4 acres seen on Assessor's Map 9, Block 6, Lot 1. The applicant requests site plan review per Section 195-104 of the bylaw and any other zoning relief deemed necessary.
Thank you. For the record, Brian Goodrow with Hancock Associates on behalf of Lighthouse School. A brief update since the last time we were before this board. We've been working with town staff, DPW, engineering, fire department, water department, as is shown by letters that were submitted to the board. We believe that we've addressed all comments that have been outstanding. Our revised plans are generally housekeeping items. So some of the smaller items still important, such as fire department had requested fire lane parking signs and pavement markings, things of that nature. Engineering had asked about clarification on a lot of our supporting calculations. Calculations didn't change, but we did provide that additional narrative for them. An update on conservation. We did close our conservation hearing last night, so an order is being drafted, a step in the right direction. And our team is here if the board has any additional questions. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer.
Okay. I do have some letters on this, which I could be glad to read now.
Yeah.
This is first one, Chelmsford Fire Department, and I'm going to do some summarizing here. Water supply, including required pressure and flow, shall be confirmed by current water flow test. Hydrant placement is accessible. Apparatus access is accessible. Snow storage shall not obstruct or impede fire access. And the usual automatic sprinkler system conforming to NFPA 13 and alarms conforming to NFPA 72 shall be required. And this office will approve of this plan with these conditions, and I ask the board to make this letter a part of their approval process. Danielle Katsoukas. Let me check it off. From North Chelmsford Water District. The North Chelmsford Water District has reviewed the applicant's proposal to construct a new structure adjacent to the Lighthouse School. The NCWD will supply water conditional to the applicant's following of the rules and regulations of the NCWD and the Chelmsford Fire Department, the following conditions. All water, gates, fire hydrants shall be open left black nut style. I have no idea what that means. Capping sleeves shall be Romatech STI 3 or equivalent. The applicant shall provide all appropriate details on drawings and blueprints. All materials, inspections, overhead, entrance fees, tapping of domestic water services, etc., will be coordinated through the NCWD, and all water main service lines will be subject to pressure and bacteria tests prior to going online. From the Board of Health, no comments. From DPW, let's see how much we have here. Okay. The engineering department has performed a review of the site plan to add a 23,000 square foot addition to the Lighthouse School at 25 Wellman Ave. The following contents of the submission were reviewed for appropriateness of method and accuracy, as well as for compliance with the Town of Chelmsford Stormwater Bylaw, Town of Chelmsford Stormwater Management Regulation, Division 3, sewer capacity and connection restriction. Engineering plan entitled Permit Site Plan Additions to the Lighthouse School, 25 Wellman Ave, Chelmsford, Mass., dated February 22nd, 2023, prepared by Hancock. And engineering report entitled Stormwater Management Report, Lighthouse School, 25 Wellman Ave, North Chelmsford, Massachusetts, dated February 22nd, 2023, and prepared by Hancock Associates. Site plan review, outstanding DPW engineering issues not addressed. Upon review of resubmissions and contents from previous planning board meetings, DPW has no further comments, and there are no outstanding site plan review concerns. Sewer comments. DPW has reviewed the applicant's current sewer flow rates using Title V and has no outstanding issues. See calculations below for monitoring valve for 25 Wellman Ave, meeting Division 3 sewer capacity and connection restrictions, and it gives the detailed numbers here. Recommended stormwater management conditions. Upon review of resubmissions and contents from previous planning board meetings, DPW has no further comments as to the 10 stormwater standards have been addressed. And recommended general conditions of approval. As-built plans shall be submitted to the engineering department on Mylar, PDF, and AutoCAD, no larger than 24 by 36 D size upon completion. The DPW shall monitor and enforce sewer flow limitations and impose penalties for violations thereof in accordance with the town's sewer policy. All stormwater best management practices will be inspected by design engineers and certified that they are built in compliance with plans. Documentation needed including photos, field books, entries, and engineers' daily reports to be submitted to DPW with final as-built. The stormwater management system shall be maintained in perpetuity in accordance with the operation and maintenance plan. It is the owner's responsibility to provide completed annual compliance records to the engineering department at 9 Alpha Road. Erosion controls shall be installed as shown in the plan set and at the direction of the engineering department if determined necessary at the time of construction. The erosion controls may include, but are not limited to, silt fence, straw wattles, straw bales, temporary sediment traps, temporary diversion swales, temporary basins, silt sacks, etc. The engineering department may also require the applicant to provide supplemental information on the placement and sizing of any additional temporary erosion controls. All handicap parking signs must meet the requirements of MGL Part 1, Title 7, Chapter 40, Section 22, A, and clearly and legibly display the following message: handicap parking, special plate required, unauthorized vehicles may be removed at owner's expense. Application site contractor must schedule a pre-construction meeting with the DPW Engineering Division prior to the start of any site work. A sewer permit shall be filed with DPW prior to the start of any site work. A trench permit shall be filed as necessary per 520 CMR 14.00, Chapter 82A with DPW. A land disturbance permit shall be filed with DPW prior to the start of any site work. And that's it for the letters.
Okay, so do we want to take it around the room and get people's thoughts? You know what I didn't clarify at the beginning of the regular meeting, Evan, is Tim on the Zoom call?
No, he's not.
Okay, sorry. So, do you want to start, Paul?
Yeah, as I recall, the only issue I had with it was the pinch-off point that the fire department was worried about, and it looks like they've corrected that.
John?
I have no questions at this time.
Anita?
No, no questions.
No items.
No
No
items?
questions.
No, I think all the issues appear to have been addressed in the department letters.
Just one question, one comment. Evan, the DPW letter, I'm assuming when they say the resubmissions, that's referring to the updated plans? Okay. And then I just wanted to mention that the Concom meeting last night had rave reviews about the updated landscaping plan and the plant palette. They were talking about how it was a really good example for future plans.
Or low impact?
For low impact, for just the overall design and the information provided. So Conservation Commission had
All right.
great reviews from that.
And I had a comment, which was that I appreciated the narrative about the environmental sustainability aspects of the project. Thought that was well, we started with our checklist, but you guys took it well beyond that, and I appreciated that.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Any public? If not, we can close the hearing, I guess.
Is there anyone from the public who wants to comment on this project? And I'll take a motion.
I would move to close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm assuming I can vote?
Yes?
Close the public, well,
Tim is not here,
that's
and it
true.
is a
One of
special permit.
seven.
It is a special permit. Well, I
Can
don't
vote
know
on-
if closing the public hearing.
That's fine.
I think
ranks
you
in
can
the-
vote on anything tonight, because there's only 7 of us, right?
Yeah,
Anyway, let's let 'em
vote.
vote.
Let them vote.
Let them vote. Okay, I guess next step would be, how many motions are we gonna need on this? We've got, it's just the site plan?
I think we identified, was this aquifer protection? And aquifer protection as well.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess I'll take a motion to,
Well, I think we do them
approve.
one at a time. I would move that we approve the special permit associated with aquifer protection, but I don't know what the number is here. It's not on my
19574.
195.74?
Yep.
Okay.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous?
And then I can give you a motion to grant approval on the site plan review per 195-104.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Is this a situation where we want to draft up a decision and do a final review on it? I mean, we've essentially approved the project at this point, but we haven't got the final decision in front of us.
More than happy to draft it. I have to draft it either way. Maybe a good practice, so board members can see
Yeah,
a process, procedures.
yeah, and yours are nice and consistent. I mean, and I think there's something to be said for consistency in decisions.
Okay, so then we're gonna approve the final decision at the next meeting.
But we've essentially already approved the project at this
Right.
point.
You're going
We'll
to
just-
review and ratify the decision.
Review and ratify, yep. Okay,
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
thank you.
Yep.
Next, on to 18 to 20 Chelmsford Street. Boar's Head LLC for the demolition of one existing building and the construction of a new building constructed in its place that will be used for 2 residential units and an office. The site is located in the Center Village District and consists of approximately .48 acres as shown in Assessor's Map 73, Block 322, Lot 6. The applicant requests approval under Article 18A Center Village zoning, section 195-98.1 for an accessory residential use, and section 195-98.3 for a 20% reduction in parking.
Good evening again. Kathy Farrell with the law firm of Farrell and Robbins. I'm covering for Melissa Robbins, who could not be here tonight. I'm here with my clients again, Michael and Joanne Sargent of Boar's Head LLC, and also project engineer Brian Melissy. We're here tonight for continuation of the site plan review and our application for special permit. A reminder, Chelmsford Historic District Commission and the Chelmsford Historic Commission have already approved the proposed new building. We had a lengthy discussion last time and continued so we could work on engineering and the other department head comments, and the board had asked for some additional information. The applicant's uses are allowed by right under 9598(1)B, and that section allows residential use as an accessory use in the CV Center Village District to reinforce the downtown village character. The proposed accessory residential use in this case is 23% of the total use based on square footage. So this is clearly an accessory and subordinate to the principal commercial use. The special permit request was solely for the reduction in parking. That's 20% parking reduction is allowed by right, but we have a special permit before you that allows reduction up not to exceed 50%. And in this case, we're seeking a 23% reduction after removing the one space after the department heads meeting. And I'd like to turn it over to Brian Melissy for the engineering review.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, Brian Melissy with Haley Ward. We are the project civil engineer. We had submitted to the planning board some revised site plans. Quickly, I'll go down through the highlights of the revisions to the site plan. As Kathy had already stated, we removed the one parking spot, famous spot number 9, as we called it, per the department head meeting. Per engineering, we separated the sewer service, the existing building number 18 and number 20. When they were plumbed, back when the sewer became available, they were plumbed into a single sewer service. We were asked to show a separate service for the new building, which we have done. There was some discussion through the fire department comments about supplying a fire suppression system or a sprinkler system for the new building. The applicants have hired a fire protection engineer who's currently going through some of that design. What we did on the site plan is we showed a dedicated fire line, fire service to feed the suppression system. If you notice in the site plan, we call it for size to be determined. When the fire protection engineer has completed his calculations, he'll tell us what size main that would be needed. And when we go through the water department to pull the permits for that, we will have it properly sized. Through the engineering department, we provided and revised a stormwater report for the existing stormwater network or management network that's on site. And I do believe we got a letter from engineering. I have a copy of it, but I'm sure Mr. Raisbeck might be reading those into the record. We also provided the sewer flow calculations for the DPW per their request. We put those right on the plan, and I believe they comment about those as well. Some of the other comments that came through the department head meeting, which were already shown on the plan, we provided a couple more shade trees in and around the perimeter of the project. And really, that was it. That's the rundown of the revisions. If there's any questions, I'd certainly try to answer them.
I can read the letters in now. At this point,
Perfect.
with your permission.
Please do.
Okay. This is the Chelmsford Water District. A representative with this proposed project has met with the Chelmsford Water District, and all of our order of conditions have been or in writing will be fulfilled by the contractor. Specifically, 2-inch domestic water line to have approved backflow prevention device, and fire line to be installed will meet Chelmsford Water District specifications. And that's Brandon Kanata, Distribution Manager, Chelmsford Water District. I have a reasonably lengthy letter from DPW. I'll summarize some of it because it's standard.
Yep.
let's see. Upon review of resubmissions and comments from previous planning board meeting, DPW has no further comments and there are no outstanding site plan review concerns. Sewer comments, no increase to the town of Chelmsford sewer infrastructure shall be greater than 500 GPD. Clarification request for sewer flow rate for proposed building. DPW has reviewed applicant's sewer current flow using Title V and has no outstanding issues. And then it lists the calculations that we used. Recommended stormwater management conditions. The proposed project site is located in a Zone 2 wellhead protection area. Standard 6 critical areas must be met according to Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook. The project has a decrease in the amount of impervious area, which leads to reduced stormwater runoff. Therefore, this project does provide an improvement over existing conditions as stipulated in the redevelopment standards and meets Standard 6 to the maximum extent practicable. And then recommended general conditions of approval are all quite standard. I read them earlier.
Alrighty,
That's it.
so that's the letters.
Can I see the water department one?
Yes.
Do we want to take it around and see if anyone has any questions? Paul, I'm going to start with you again.
I do not have any questions. on this one.
John?
I don't have any questions.
Linda?
I don't have any questions or concerns.
Mike?
No, I'm good, thank you. I'm pretty satisfied.
Nothing.
Okay, and I also have nothing. Is there anyone who wants to speak from the public? This being a public hearing? Okay, then I think we'll close the public hearing. No one's on Zoom, Evan?
No,
Evan, do you have anything that you
do not, but thank you for
want to
asking.
bring?
I'll make a motion to close public input.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, unanimous. Okay, so then I'll take a motion to approve the project as presented.
Okay, this is, it looks like there are two of them in here. One is the approval under Center Village zoning, and the other is the 20% reduction in parking. So I will gladly move to approve this under Article 18A, Center Village zoning, Section 195-98-1, for an accessory residential use.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed, unanimous.
And second one is I would move that we grant approval under Section 195-98-3 for a 20% reduction in parking.
23%, right?
What was the site?
23.
23?
Yeah.
Okay, let the record show that it's 23.
Second?
I'm sorry, Anita, did you second?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, it's unanimous. Okay. Thank you.
Good luck.
And now we have
Groton Road, man.
Groton Road. Okay, they are requesting a definitive subdivision approval for Newport Landing subdivision consisting of a 2-lot private way with a 2-family dwelling on each lot, total of 4 new residential units at 264 Groton Road. This property is located in the RC zoning district and is shown as parcel ID map 23, block 92, lot A, I'm sorry, lot 8, and consists of approximately 1.8 acres.
Good evening. I know we were waiting for Attorney Doug DeSheen to call in. I don't know if there was any updates on that.
I don't see him waiting on Zoom. Do you want to,
No, we can get started and hopefully he'll join in. For the record, Matt Waterman with Land Tech Consultants, here on behalf of Rick DeFelice and hopefully Doug Duchesne, Attorney Doug Duchesne, who'll be calling in. Last time we met was actually back on February 8th, 2023. The board asked us to go back and get a determination on the lot configuration. We've been working to revise the lot configuration, have submitted new plans. We've met with the building inspector several times. We do have a determination letter from him that he has no further issues with the conformance with the dimensional analysis. We also got an updated letter from the DPW that was consistent with their previous letter, with the bulk of it saying that they didn't have any new or any additional comments, and then kind of focused on their standard conditions. The plans from a stormwater, landscaping, house placement, roadway design, all of that has not changed. The only thing that has changed was just jockeying around the lot lines to provide lots that conform, and it was reconfigured for the dimensional analysis, including lot area, frontage, building coverage, lot width of 125 feet, and lot depth of 125 feet. We don't have any additional items to present to the board. Just want to remind the board that we do have waivers that we had updated at our last meeting back in February. And we just request that the board keep those and consider those waivers.
Does anyone, we'll take it around and see if anyone has any questions or comments. Paul? Any questions or comments?
No.
John?
I don't at this time.
Anita?
So I just want clarification. Are there still waivers on this that we need to approve?
I believe
no?
there's 2 waivers as
Three.
part of a private way proposal.
Yep.
3?
Correct. And at the last meeting, we had presented a full build-out plan that provided, documented that we could build this subdivision without any waivers. The waivers that we were asking, we had gotten rid of one of the cul-de-sac bulb sizing requirement, and that conforms now. But we're still looking for a T turnaround, which the fire department has approved. And then we were asking for kind of 2 construction-related waivers, eliminating the sidewalk and modifying the curbing style from granite to bituminous concrete. And I know that we had discussed this at the last time, that as presented with the waivers, it's anticipated that this would be maintained as a private way. Obviously, if the board makes their decisions on the waivers and the road is constructed for full compliance, it is anticipated that we would probably pursue this as a public way, just that there are no benefits from the private way standpoint at that point, and we would ask for the board's consideration of the waivers.
Okay. Mike?
What's the total lot cover? I understand, what's the dimensions? Can you explain where you, because the issue was the depth issue on lot 1.
Correct.
And it looks like, what was the determination by the building inspector? And I'm going to ask for that letter to be read so everyone can see it, but is it at an angle?
Correct. Maybe we can read the letter, and I don't know if there is some clarification in that letter. I know there was some correspondence. It might be helpful, and I can certainly.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand how you got to the numbers,
That was going to be my question, too.
because that was the major issue the last time.
Yep, and I didn't bring the zoning bylaw with me, but the way that the bylaw is written, that it's the lot depth is determined, being measured from the opposite side of the right-of-way, measured in a general direction of the side lot lines. And so the configuration that we came up with provides that dimensional analysis where the right lot line is 125 feet and the left lot line is in excess of 125. I think it was up to 137 or something. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Can you show where that
That's
is?
the angle.
Okay, that's that line
And I
is
do
the,
have the letter, by the way, which
Correct. So the lot is slightly skewed, but all of the dimensions for the lot depth are greater than 125 feet. This side lot line is 132 feet, and this one is 127 feet.
and then the going across, so do you take it perpendicular based off of that one, or is that a property line as well?
Say that again?
So the depth is coming across, are you taking the width then perpendicular to that line, or are you taking it at
Had
the
an
lot line?
exhibit plan that we were working with the building inspector that showed lot lines that were
Yeah, I saw that plan.
designed that matched the definition of the lot depth in the zoning bylaw, that showed it in the general direction of the side lot lines. And then we also had, on a separate exhibit plan, lot depths at 3 different locations that were perpendicular.
Okay.
So we had multiple variations.
Yeah, I can read it.
And
We'll
ultimately,
read it.
this is the version that was.
Why don't you read that now while we're having that
Okay, let me, we have a couple of things to read in, but I'll read this one right now because it's germane.
Yeah, because it's just for this subject,
Right.
'cause I have a couple more questions.
This is from Jose Negron, the building commissioner. Dear Mr. Waterman, as per your revised submitted certified plot plan, I have determined that Lot 1 complies with the table of dimensional requirements. Please let me know if I can be of further assistance to you. I will send signed copies of this determination by certified and regular mail in the coming days. Thank you, respectively, Jose.
All right, thanks, Mike. So then, and then lot 1 is exactly 20,000 square feet?
Correct.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Okay, that's awesome.
20,000.
Okay, meets just perfectly. So lot 2, question for you on lot 2, how close are you to that electrical easement?
From,
The right-of-way for the national grid?
It's up there.
Evan, if you can slide down maybe one, that's a good one there. So this one shows the proposed dwelling, the building setbacks.
Yep.
Being the dash line, the easement line, which is an 80-foot easement, power line easement that comes through the rear, or the backside of all these properties. And then we have our building showing conformance, and I don't have an exact dimension, but it's probably 5 to 8 feet that we show the house off the easement line.
Okay, so right there, while you're right there, the plantings that you have there, why does it stop in the middle as a gap?
That was me. So I was drawing this, and we had 8 plans on the previous one. We were, and I know we've had some correspondence with the abutter, and there's no reason why we can't provide this straight across. I think the goal, it was what I was thinking, was that we were gonna try and maintain as much vegetation as possible, and then I focused the plantings on areas and still allowing access around the building. We've expressed that to the abutters in emails that we would, and if it's the board's preference, we can certainly provide a uniform vegetation line across that rear property, or that limit of work, if you will, along the easement line. We have no issues with it. It was just a quick decision that was made.
Okay.
There was no reasoning behind it. It was just,
Just knowing the area up there, as soon as you get past that easement line, it's cleared out 100% by National Grid, and it's about 80 feet wide. So the more trees that you take down, you're totally gonna see it from the neighbor's house, right behind you, which
and
is
we
all
can
woods
certainly
now.
provide that
So,
uniform.
and I know you can't shift the building any further because of the setback, so if we can just continue, if you don't mind.
Nope, not
Making
at
sure
all.
you have full coverage on that, as best your ability, that'd be great. That's all I have. You're up, Deirdre.
I would agree with Mike, yeah, if you could continue that vegetation line. I don't know if there's any opportunity to thicken it or not. You don't have a whole lot of space between that line and the easement. It's about 8 feet or
No,
something like
and
that.
I won't spread these out. We'll add more plantings.
Okay.
So that we have that nice uniform.
Yeah, you want it,
All across.
yeah, you want
Buffer.
to look like a living wall there if you can.
No.
Just the issue up there, you gotta, they're taking down trees that are 40, 50 feet high.
Right,
And then they're
exactly.
putting up 8-foot high trees. So in our lifetime, they'll never be the height of what's there.
Right.
And
I'm aware, I
we're
remember, I've
experiencing
been in that
We're
backyard.
experiencing that in down the road, so. Whatever you can do, that'd be great.
Yep, no, not a problem.
Can we put down that they're more mature trees as part of the approval?
Where's Nan?
But you run into trouble, the bigger the
Yeah.
tree, the harder it is to transplant.
Yeah.
And you get to a point where you get them too big and they all die on you because you can't get a big enough root ball.
We have them as arborvitae. We could certainly do a mix of of like white pines. I mean, arborvitae, I think tends to be more of a screening type planting, but white pines grow obviously significantly taller, so we could certainly add some white pines in there so that we get some taller growth. And we can diversify the plantings or provide some white pines that are behind them.
That might be a good topic for talking with the abutters on, see what they might prefer, because they're the ones looking at it.
Yep.
Is there the ability to put more trees behind it?
Couple feet. No, you can't go past
I know, I
that.
just thought that was what he just said.
Well, we could certainly, like, maybe not exactly at this pinch point, but we could certainly
Oh, I see.
diversify some of the plantings, or we could, alternate some of
Every
them.
other, yeah, okay.
Or we could stagger them. I mean, we could come up with something creative that gets a more kind of a mature growth and then a shorter growth. I think we could kind of come up with both.
Did you have anything else, Mike?
No, I'm,
Chris?
I had a couple of questions related to that area. How wide so that whole tree line is going to be in the electric company easement. How wide is that going to be remaining at the nearest point, at that pinch point?
10 feet.
Our plantings or the vegetation that's,
Between where the plantings are and the end of the vegetation that's there on the easement?
the side, I
Yeah.
mean, we show it as about 10 feet. It's not an accurate, I don't know if that's canopy that's being extended over here, or if the trees are on the line. We didn't locate every tree, but we're certainly not gonna cut trees that are over the easement line. And, but it shows it as about 10 feet. I'm just not sure if that's trees that are on, outside of that easement, the canopy to create that, it's not an exact science when we draw that tree line. It's
Yeah.
sometimes it's based on the canopy. Sometimes there's smaller trees that are growing there that don't have that large canopy.
That might be good information to have, because one of the things that came up in the Conservation Commission meeting last night was the tendency for the electric companies recently to start really heavily clear-cutting their spaces.
But they did that up on this one.
Yeah,
About 2
and my
years ago.
concern is that they may be back again,
They will.
and if they clear-cut the rest of that, there will be no more screening there.
Well, that was my concern, because they do go back and take all of the overhang into that line, and they come up with the lifts, and they
Yeah.
go right up.
And
they
the
put it
Conservation
down.
Commission has been starting to get a little upset with how they're leaving
think so.
things. And if the trend continues in that specific space, there's gonna be no more screening there,
Oh, I agree.
because they're heavily cutting those easements.
If the board would consider, we could do a conditional approval that we do a final planting plan where we locate the trees in that area, and then it would be approved by either the staff or we come back into the board prior to the building permit or something like that for that lot. We could certainly develop, so we could finalize, get the tree locations. We would have final building plans at that time, so we could certainly know where our exact buildings are, and we'll have a better understanding of the clearing and what we're not clearing.
The other thing the Conservation Commission has been doing more of is working with the tree committee. So it might be worthwhile reaching out to the town tree committee to see if there's something additional that can be done in that space.
Does the tree committee, like, in any way, discuss or negotiate or anything with the utilities?
Not recently, but they're starting to work through Christine Clancy, who's the tree warden. They're starting to become a little bit more active with her in the Conservation Commission to look at tree plantings around town and be a little bit more proactive in potential problem areas.
Yeah, a lot of their attention is focused on the trees on town land.
Yeah.
As opposed to this, but
But they are
It is in
willing
their
to be
bailiwick.
more consulting
Yeah.
as well.
yeah, they got some people that know what they're doing.
Yep.
All right, is that?
We don't
do you
have any
some-
issue with reaching out to them.
Yeah.
Like I said, if we could develop like a planting plan for Lot 2, specifically along that easement line. And like I said, that would give us the opportunity to go out there and locate the trees that are greater than 6-inch diameter or whatever. And then preserve certain trees, do our plantings, get varied growth, and do all those things that we just discussed.
Chris, did you have something else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, I had nothing else.
I do have some letters here.
Why don't we hear the rest of the
Can I just
letters?
make one comment too?
Sure.
I made this comment before about the height of the building, and I think that we should put in the conditions that it's 3 stories above grade. Because the neighbors down the street are building 4 stories.
Yep.
And there's some kind of loophole they got through. And it's through the bylaw on the table right here says 3 floors. So I think they're building 4 down on Jackson Lane. And I know the building inspector has been out there many times, and he's approved it. I just haven't, as a board, we should either take that up down the road, because they are monsters that are being built. Now, they're still within, they say within the 35 feet, or the mean of the 35 feet. But I think there should be just 3 stories and not 4. And I don't know if we can hold that here or not, because he's not showing it, it's just a recommendation of the board.
The subdivision approval
Yeah, we're still
is
at
specific
subdivision
to
stage.
infrastructure,
Okay,
laying out of the lots,
all right, thank you.
not zoning.
I do have a problem with the curbing. I'd prefer to see granite curbing myself.
Madam Chair, if I could just ask a question about the roadway, pertaining to what Paul just asked. If I asked the speaker, did you say that this would be a private way, or did I hear you say that eventually you would be seeking to make it a public way?
As designed, it's proposed as a private way,
Private way.
and that's assuming that we're getting the variances,
Waivers.
waivers, thank
Variances
you.
are a dirty word.
But if none of the waivers are granted, there's no motivation to maintain it as a private way, because we would meet and conform with the zoning bylaw, or the subdivision bylaw, excuse me, as a public way.
So does that mean if you're a private way, does that mean like they don't get trash, they don't get plowed, they don't get trash pickup,
Correct.
they don't get any of those services? Oh, okay.
They'd be responsible for their own, they would be a homeowners association, and they would share the cost of that,
Just what we need.
which is what we fully expect at this point.
We have to contract people to do it.
Right.
Okay. So if there's no further comments or questions, should we,
Do you need any indication on the waivers this evening, or just let it float until the next meeting?
It'd be nice to get a vote on the waivers if possible.
why don't
I
we
think that would
listen
be
to the
helpful.
public?
Attorney Duchesne is joining as we speak.
I'd like to invite the public, if there's anyone here to make a comment.
Again, I do have some letters.
Oh, yeah, we have a letter,
Nothing of great
sorry.
significance.
Did you want to read the letters?
Let's do the letters first, I'm sorry,
All right,
Virginia.
I'll just do these quick, and if you don't mind, I will summarize a lot of the traditional verbiage that we get from some
Please.
of these departments.
Yeah, I was gonna
this-
suggest a policy about that.
Yeah, well, I just made one. This is from Department of Public Works, sewer comments. Upon review of resubmission and comments from previous planning board meetings, DPW has no further comments and there are no outstanding sewer review concerns. Stormwater, upon review of resubmission and comments from previous planning board meeting, DPW has no further comments and there are no outstanding stormwater review concerns. And then there's the general recommended conditions, which I read on another matter earlier in this meeting. Alternative comments. If the intention of the subdivision is to become a public roadway, granite curbing will be required as well as a sidewalk on one side of the street. I think we've just addressed that. If the intention of the subdivision is to become a public roadway, acceptable street lighting according to Town of Chelmsford bylaws and regulations will be the responsibility of the owner prior to its submittal and acceptance as town-accepted roadway. But as we've heard, the intent and belief is that this will be private. I will note that there's been an extension of time to act to June 16th. Just mention that because it's in the file. From the fire department, dear members of the board, the Fire Prevention Office offers the following comments regarding the proposal for subdivision and private way construction at 264 Groton Road. The developer will provide a fire hydrant on the corner of Groton Road and the proposed roadway. And the fire department access and turnaround that is proposed is acceptable. And the T turnaround shall be maintained at all times and shall be kept clear of snow or other obstructions. The rest is standard. Let me check that one. North Chelmsford Water District has reviewed the applicant's proposal to construct 2 duplexes for a total of 4 multifamily units off of 264 Groton Road. The NCWD will supply water conditional to the applicants following the rules and regulations of the NCWD and the Chelmsford Fire Department and the following conditions. All multifamily units shall have straight lineal sleeved 1-inch water service for each unit, separately metered with the R900 radio read water meters. Each unit shall be charged an entrance fee of $5,000 at the single-family more than 1 unit rate, 4 in total. The new 6-inch ductile iron water main shall be tied into Groton Road. The water main will cross Groton Road into the complex and service a fire hydrant per the CFD and 4 individual domestic services. The applicant shall install a 6-inch tapered sleeve and gate valve on the existing water. The applicant shall pay all associated costs. The applicant shall provide all appropriate details on the drawings blueprints, including proper depth of pipe, proper bedding and backfill materials, thrust blocks, etc., to the satisfaction of NCWD. All materials, inspections, overhead entrance fees, tapping of domestic water services, etc., will be coordinated through the NCWD. The old water service to 264 Groton Road shall be terminated at the water main, and the water service shall be tapped into the new 6-inch water main following testing, chlorination, flushing, and a negative water sample for bacteria. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns regarding this information. Respectfully, Paul Pierce, Superintendent. Town of Chelmsford Board of Health. I believe we read this one last time, having to do with the septic system.
Can I see that?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
Take a look. There's not a lot on it. And I have from Jose Negron, the building commissioner, please be advised that any proposed structure needs to conform with the table of dimension requirements to include FAR, building height and lot coverage. Please let me know if I can be of further assistance. We may have already read that one, but in any case, I think that's been addressed as well. That's it for letters.
Chairman?
Doug?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I just want to apologize for my late entrance into the meeting. I was tied up, but I did want to let you know that I'm here. I'm sure Mr. Matt Waterman did an excellent job, but if you do have any questions or concerns, I am here to address them.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Virginia. So now, Virginia?
Good evening, Virginia Timmons. My husband Mark and I are direct abutters at 28 Lovett Lane. I appreciate and I want to thank you for the discussion regarding the screening and maybe mixing in some more mature species as well. That was one of our questions about the gap on the drawing, and I appreciate the communication that went on before this meeting as well. I'm left with a couple of questions as it relates to the easement, and I am really not sure how to get answers to them, but my first question is, with respect to that screening line that's planted, will it withstand National Grid? Because the way it's shown on the drawings right now, I believe the plants are planted exactly on the easement line. And National Grid, to the point that one of the board members made earlier, already comes and clear cuts that easement every year, sometimes multiple times during the season. So if the plantings are exactly on the easement line, again, my question is, will they even withstand National Grid? And then my second question has to do with the distance of the structure from the easement line. I believe I heard it was 5 to 8 feet earlier this evening. Is that correct?
Correct.
I'm sorry, I should be addressing the board. In two separate conversations I've had with National Grid in the past for this and for something else, I've been told that they require structures to be 20 feet off the easement line for safety purposes because they don't want people who are working on ladders, for example, for a 20-foot ladder to fall across the power lines. So again, my only question there is that at a distance that National Grid will tolerate for the structure itself? And considering that and the plantings, I don't know if there should be any consideration given to maybe shortening up the road to open up the lot a little more and move the structure a couple more feet or a few more feet if that 20-foot requirement is going to be an issue. And I recognize that there's nothing in our bylaws about that. I just know that it is a requirement that National Grid expects of its builders, is what the community representative has told me multiple times. So that's the question I have, and I don't know how to answer it.
That's,
And again, I thank you for the work in making the lots compliant and for the screening at the back end. But those are my two questions.
that's interesting. I find it interesting that National Grid would claim to control something that's outside of their
Well,
easement.
and I've asked for something in writing and I can't find it, so I'm just raising it.
Don't think you'll ever
because-
get it, but,
Right,
yeah.
I'm just raising it because
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm not a builder.
But it's interesting
I
that
don't
they're
know how
saying
much
that,
it
and we might
happens.
want to investigate that a little more. They may be
But I-
laboring under a
But I
misconception.
do question whether, how well the screening is gonna hold
Yeah,
up if
there-
it's
that
exactly
is-
on the
that
easement
is-
line, because they don't care. They cut anything down that's in their way.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
Evan, would those be questions that we could maybe get some
Oh,
clarification
certainly,
from Christine?
Be probably Jose, the building commissioner. I'm not aware of any provision in the code, but he would know best. You can also reach out to Christine. She has a contact with National Grid, so maybe she can get better information. Like I said, we've never, I'm not aware of any specific situation where National Grid has, one, they're not providing even notification, other than as an abutter, but when the building permit comes in, the abutters don't get any notification. So it's kind of puzzling, to Mike's point. If it's not in the building code, I don't know how a building commissioner would know. that
So
it's a-
the only thing I can ask is on Jackson Lane, which Doug's group represented. So Melissa may know this answer because the whole Jackson Lane, all those homes are more than 20 feet off. And then when they were crossing the easement to eventually put homes, they had to stay 20 feet off that easement line. That's a different law firm. And, oh, it's a different law firm? Melissa's not with Doug anymore? I'm sorry. Sorry, Doug.
But I'll
I
follow
thought
up
that
with,
that was a clear decision that was in that one, that how they got to the development. I don't know if they, it's the same easement that, so I don't know if there's any official document part of that one, but it's not a big
we
deal.
can review that, the building permits as part of that, see if there's any documentation related to that.
And we discussed it, I discussed it with our surveyor. He said he was not aware of any offsets. We've done other projects, Tadmuck Meadows in Westford, where we had several units that were very close to or right on the easement line. With respect to anything crossing the easement line, I do know if you're doing any work within the easement, you have to get an agreement with them, whether it's utilities, a driveway, and they don't allow structures, but you can put utilities, driveways, and septics typically underneath the easements. And you have to get an agreement from National Grid or whoever the power company is. And it's difficult to get them to do.
Anything.
But typically, they want the utilities to be perpendicular, they want driveways to be straight across. But we did a driveway that went all the way up, so.
Madam Chair, if I could weigh in on this?
Yes.
Technically, the National Grid has no authority with respect to any property outside of their easement. They can certainly cut every blade of grass and every tree that lies within that easement. They are not, however, allowed to touch anything that is on our side of the easement that doesn't break the plane of the easement. So if we were to put the arborvitae's, technically an inch on our side of the easement line, National Grid will not touch them. They certainly have no legal right to touch them. With respect to setbacks from homes, I too have worked on a number of projects where we had to actually go under or through the easement with a roadway or a driveway, or as Matt has said, where we had to put utilities within the easement. And because it didn't frustrate the purpose of the easement, National Grid would work with us. And that's where you see them requiring additional setbacks. So when we needed to put a road across the easement, they asked us if we could push the houses that abutted the road where it crossed the easement away from the easement. So we agreed to that. But they have no right or authority to dictate what we do on our side of the easement land, including the construction of homes. And while, we do appreciate the concerns of the neighbors, and, my client would share those, he doesn't want to see National Grid cutting down the stuff on our property. I do think that is a question for, or it's a risk my client would take, and it's not necessarily a regulation that we have to satisfy in order to obtain subdivision approval.
The only design solution in lieu of, the only design solution to increase backyard, which would increase more area to plant trees, is going back to one of the original waiver requests, which was reduced radius of the cul-de-sac. Wasn't that
Yeah, correct.
So your current, as designed now, your current frontage is 200 feet?
Correct, and initially, we had kind of shrunk the cul-de-sac bulb, there's kind of the goal, and this was something that I had designed and put together and formulated the waivers, and it was simply just to try and pull things forward. When I had originally had that additional waiver, we knew we had the T turnaround, we know have the requirement that they don't want parked vehicles, within where the turning movements of the fire truck, but there is room to shrink that, even if it's 5-10 feet, and we could certainly pull things with it.
And if you do that, you'd still comply with frontage and have the T turnaround within the right-of-way?
Yeah, and it wouldn't conflict with the turning movements of the emergency vehicle. That was the one concern that the fire safety had. And you can see, the distance here, we still have that room. We're not talking 50 feet, we're talking 10 feet, increments of 5 feet, where we could certainly try and pull things forward.
If you're looking at double arborvitae or
Right.
more mature trees, provide a bigger backyard, less of a pinch point, more separation between the right-of-way and private property trees.
And then we would just need an additional waiver.
Correct, but that has, again, the applicant's not proposing that.
Right.
At this point, it'd be something that the board would have to
As a
initiate.
condition or something.
You'd have to initiate it, and then they could, if we're continuing this evening, they would likely be able to submit revised plans at the request of adding that waiver by the board. But if you do that, at that point, it is definitely a private way, and always will be a private way.
Because it lacks the,
Correct.
And then we could also formulate that planting that we've been discussing as well.
right. Is there any more public online or anywhere that wants to be heard from?
No one else online?
Well, it sounds to me like perhaps that additional waiver in order to move things forward makes some sense. It's the best we can do here. Perhaps we continue the public hearing and indicate to the proponent that we are willing to accept a waiver on the size of the bulb at the end of that cul-de-sac and take it up at next meeting.
Take a motion?
Well, I will move to continue. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I am, quite frankly, It was our intention to seek an approval tonight. We believe we've met all of your rules and regulations, and the setback of the house from this easement line is not, in fact, a requirement under your subdivision rules and regulations. However, and I do apologize that I wasn't on for the first part of the meeting, but has the board discussed their position with respect to the other waivers that we've asked for?
Yeah, I'm gonna be requiring granite curbing.
You're the only one who's expressed your opinion so far.
Exactly.
We didn't do a poll about it. Paul expressed his desire to see granite curbing.
So I have just a question to Doug, maybe. Doug, if you want to close this tonight, and if we introduce that additional waiver and give you direction to maximize the movement of the building off the back lot to pushing it up the front, would you be opposed to that?
No, we would be happy with that. The board wants to vote the waivers and grant us that waiver with a condition that we will send in a new plan showing the movement, the reduced bulb and the movement of the house, and then allow the board to vote. That would allow the board to vote, and we would be happy to do that.
I don't see an issue. I mean, we're trying to maximize. If he's moving it off, if he moves it 10 feet or 15 feet, fantastic.
Yeah, it just adds another couple
It
of
comes
trees
off
for it.
with more trees in the back lot, and he mentioned that he would do a planting
Yep.
plan.
Yeah, we'll locate the trees right on that easement line.
Yeah.
And we'll develop.
Or slightly in from it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would actually recommend that they're
We'd be in.
so that the canopy's not extending over that easement line, because if it is, that'll get cut.
Yeah, that would chop half your tree off.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that the growth of the trees maintains their state.
Okay. Well, in that case, I would be happy to move to close the public hearing if you want to
John
take
has
it
something to
as well.
say.
John, did
I
you
was
want
just
to
going
say
to
something?
say, to me, it makes sense to shorten up the roadway because you're trying to do mature trees in a very short time, maybe, I'm going to guess, between 5 to 10 years, the more mature trees are going to be infringing on the house or the deck, and then the owners are probably going to need to remove them, and then there goes the screening.
But just before we close, this hearing opened prior to the election. I think it opened February 8th, maybe? So we just need to clarify who's voting and who is not voting.
Was it only the February 8th meeting? I think there was one prior to that.
Yeah, this is our third meeting.
Okay.
So that would mean,
I've been at all three.
Paul,
right, so it would be Anita, Paul.
myself,
It would be
I've been
the
there.
5 of us.
5 of us.
Is this majority?
Simple majority. Mike, Deidre, Mike, Anita, and Paul.
I think it was January 11th
Yep.
was the first
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah, I have it in my calendar. Okay. Yes.
Okay. So I will take a motion. Should we start with the various waivers?
Well, first thing we have to do, I think, is close the public hearing,
Oh, right. Move to close.
which
the
I will move.
Oh, and I'm looking for a second.
Second. Okay?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. And then I am looking for a motion, but I'm needing a little guidance on how to proceed. In terms of, do we start with the waivers? Or do we start with the,
Straw polls, the waivers? Are we doing straw polls or are we?
I think,
Full vote.
I think what we do is, correct me if I'm wrong here, Evan, I would think we would vote on the subdivision, subject to named waivers?
Yeah, yeah.
Or do you think we should?
You're making a motion to approve the subdivision with itemizing the waivers,
Yes, is that,
and then whatever special conditions.
okay.
So we vote individually on the waivers.
I wouldn't suggest that, but it's board discretion as to how you want to handle that. I mean,
So I'm with.
that's,
Without the granite curbing, I'll be voting no, so.
so you want it to be a public road?
I wanted to.
Private ways don't require,
I understand
okay.
that, I understand that.
Is there a major issue with putting in the granite? I mean,
It's a cost issue is what it comes down to.
no, but I mean, do they, I'm kind of with you, I'd rather do the granite, but I'm pretty much in favor of this, and I don't want to vote no on it, I want to vote yes. So I just wanted to know how much, whether it's something that you would entertain.
Mr. Chairman, can we answer that question?
Yes, that's a question for you.
Want to reopen the hearing?
Oh, yes.
Oh, sorry.
Reopen?
Move to open the public hearing.
Okay. All in favor?
Sorry.
It's okay.
Doug, do you have anything you want to say first? Or do you want me to?
Well, I know that my position is that we have asked for that waiver for a couple of reasons. Certainly, cost is a consideration. It is a requirement of the town for a publicly accepted road. We have always contended that this would be a private road so that the town will never have liability for making sure the curb is in good shape or the pavement or anything else. The homeowners association will be tasked with taking care of it. And in light of that, it just doesn't make economic sense to put in curbing, granite curbing. And if we're forced to put in granite curbing and we got to put in a sidewalk, then we're just going to build a town road to full town standards. And as suggested by your DPW, it becomes a private way. I mean, we're trying to make this work for the town by not making it a private way, a public way. But if we're forced to build it to those standards, then we'll make it a public way. I
So
don't
my
mean to be.
understanding is if we make them do what he's saying is if we insist on the granite curbing, then they will want it necessarily to be a public way, but then we wouldn't be able to push back
Well, then
the
you s-
bulb.
That's fine with me.
So those two are mutually exclusive, the
And they have to
bulb.
put lighting in then, and the
That's fine.
sidewalk.
That's
Well,
fine.
wait a minute.
Yeah.
He's asked for the granite
Not the
curbing.
sidewalk,
That is not
curbing.
sufficient to make it meet the standards for a public way.
No, just curbing. Just-
Yeah.
It's
It's just granite
Talk
curbing.
about maintenance, the granite curbing is maintenance free. The pavement is not. And that's the stuff that ends up in the street and kicked around when the plows hit it.
Would the board consider curbing up, granite curbing up to the T turnaround and then, because it's kind of a single-family driveway at that point.
It could taper at that point. I think that would look,
So that way, with the majority of the road,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
as
part-
you enter
the two-house
road,
portion.
yes.
plowing and everything else
And
would
then
make it.
beyond the T, because the curbing ends at the, you have to be able to turn around, obviously, so there's
Yeah.
no curbing in this stretch anyways. So we would end the curbing here.
I think that would be
Station
reasonable.
2+50.
You have granite on the radiuses coming off of Route 40, right? Groton Road.
Yes.
No, I don't think we do, but we would, I'm suggesting we would do that, kind of find a middle ground where we
I
would
would be good with it.
granite up to the T turnaround, and then anything beyond that would be the 2 minutes. We would show that on the plan, of course.
Excellent.
Okay.
Then I would agree if it was a limited waiver to allow us to stop the granite as discussed, that would be acceptable.
Okay.
Okay. In that case,
I'd like a motion
To close the public
public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Okay,
now, would you like me to try to craft something here?
I would love it.
Okay. I move that we grant the subdivision as requested, subject to the, and allowing the following waivers. First, we would have granite curbing up to the, what do you call it, the T?
T turnaround.
Or Station 2+50.
Okay, to station 2+50, you give us the right word, but I think we all know where it is.
Yeah, and the T turnaround, which is approximately Station 2+50.
Secondly, we would grant a waiver permitting them to do it without sidewalk.
Yes.
And what was the third?
No lights.
And the third one would be waiver on the lights.
Yep.
Is that all of them?
And the
Evan?
fourth
You're
one
adding a
is,
fourth one.
Now
the
we're
fourth
adding a
one is
fourth
the
one.
And,
setback.
oh, yes, and the reducing the radius.
Did we come up with a number on that?
It's currently designed at 6250, and previously it was designed at 50.
Did that work for you mathematically?
Can we go
If
back?
we
to
do
Fire
the-
department was good with that.
50, and so that would put the structure an
At 10
additional 12 feet back, so it would be 20 feet.
Exactly. We would shoot for that 20 feet, correct?
So you got, so that,
Chairman, Madam Chair?
Yes.
And Matt, unless you can verify with 100% certainty that if we reduced it to 50 feet, that we would still meet frontage requirements under this new design, I might suggest that the waiver allow us to reduce the radius up to 50 feet or down to 50 feet, but allowing, if we have to do it to 55 in order to keep our frontage, we
Yeah.
could do that, as long as we push the house as far forward as we can based on the reduce of the radius.
What Doug
Does that
said.
Just what Doug said.
Huh?
Then plantings.
And there's a
And-
planting in here, is there not?
You're gonna have a planting drawing.
And we're gonna want to see and review the planting plan.
Exactly.
Okay.
Matt, excuse me, Madam Chair, I thought was there a waiver to allow for the T turnaround?
Yes.
Yes,
Is that a
okay.
separate waiver? Then-
Yeah, it was.
Then
Okay.
consider it
Number 5.
number 5.
Okay.
Okay, do we have a second on this lengthy,
Second.
I'll second that.
okay?
who seconded
I
that?
think it needed it. She beat me to it.
Okay.
Anita? Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Got it.
So we got 5. Okay, I have got
What was the
to
vote?
5,
5-0.
5 zip.
2 abstaining,
Well, they're not eligible.
And,
as
Not
they're,
eligible.
because they're not eligible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I need to take a small break for about 3 minutes, if that is okay with people. I really apologize, but and then I guess what,
Are we wrapping up anyway?
well, we have new business, MBTA zoning, and,
Okay, 200 Turnpike.
We'll talk about our next work session.
Do we have to vote on the a continuation for 200 Turnpike?
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, continuation to
Yeah, I would move,
May
I would move
24th.
we grant a continuation on 200 Turnpike to May 24th.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. That one's out of the way. Do you have something to say?
Are we looking to adjourn, or are you
Yes.
gonna take a break?
I don't know. I
Yeah, we
mean,
could adjourn.
I guess I want to know what's up with the MBTA zoning.
NIMCOG will be here on your meeting for the 24th. I would suggest we start maybe at 6:30 if possible.
Okay.
Good.
And you think
In
that
that
will take
case-
45 minutes will be enough for that?
It should be.
Okay,
When are we going to be picking up the policies discussion?
great.
And everybody cheers. It's
So we'll
great.
do that the
You
next
feel good
meeting after that?
Okay, I mean, we should be able to beat it to death.
What's that, June 14th?
Yes,
It's a
June
whole month away.
14th, June 28th.
I would ask that if anyone has any other suggestions or input, to send them our way so we can add them into the document for review before the meeting.
All right.
Good idea.
And
And is that it?
You're
Motion
on.
to adjourn?
Second.
yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent job.
That's your first motion?